And one of the things I've noticed in 40 plus years of being in ministry of one kind or another, the decades tell a lot about how a person views not only life, but the Christian life. For example, people that were my parents' age, that generation mostly that are with the Lord, they were sacrificial. They were others first. They were the marriage and the children took precedence over acquisition of material wealth. Most of the builder generation had far less financially than their children. And then not to get too hung up on the boomer and the different labels, but how that changed unintended consequences. So I grew up, I'm in my mid to late 60s now. I grew up with the idea of work hard, have it better than my parents, and all my siblings did and do. And then those parents looked at us a little bit askance going, well, wait a minute, we didn't really mean that. And then our children are bequeathed a different culture. Fast forward, you're dealing with students. And the way the builder looked at the Christian life, sacrifice others first, live on as little as possible, save as much as possible. They were, I would say, more serious about their faith, but then because the acquisition of materialism and wealth made it easier for us, and then you lay this over on the spiritual life, I look at 20 and 30-year-olds and I scratch my head, Coleman. I go, I don't even understand the issues. You talked about identity a moment ago, identification. These things change maybe even more quickly than decades, but they become ensconced. And the way you and I might look at the Christian life, I would say discipleship, sanctification, you would say formation. How are they hearing that? Is it any different? I guess is what I'm asking. The way we approach this, the way we teach it.
What you're identifying there are generational contexts in which we're called to be a follower of Christ, regardless of the context. But there are generational, contextual factors that inform that also take shape around that. The idea that, my parents benefited from sort of the hard work of my grandfather in particular, and then I therefore also benefited from the work of my parents. We're just afforded different opportunities, and therefore we have challenges as well, temptations as well. My temptation is not to sort of see like, well, look at what I built and look at how I sort of pulled myself up by my bootstraps. I've never known a day where I didn't have everything I needed, right? I didn't always have what I wanted, but what I wanted probably wasn't the best for me anyways. And so now my temptation, kind of to your point, is to think about, one, do I need all the things that I think I need? But then also, are the things that my culture says I need, are they really what's good for me? And not that I somehow have to sort of like throw out my iPhone and then just go back to farming, but it's simply to say the desires of our heart are there, have been there from the very beginning, and sin has corrupted those, and culture has then therefore said, now this is the way you do things, this is the way you do things, to where we always have to be aware of the sort of non-Christian or non-spiritual answers to those questions. So you talk about my students who are firmly planted in sort of Gen Z, whatever the alpha now is, I can't remember what that is, born after the year 2000. That's kind of the context I'm teaching and working with. Similar, right? They've never known a day where they didn't have even more technology than I had. And I just turned 40. So I've had pretty much all the things I've wanted in the technology sphere since being young. But now they're used to sort of finding their identity in that technology, right? To whereas before, I just saw technology as the tool, and I still try to see it that way. It's the tool to help me get the job done. It's the mechanism to help me produce something. Now the temptation is to actually find your identity in that technology. That's a totally new world that we live in. We have not experienced that, at least to that degree, and that sort of hyper focus before. So now we have to tell students, your identity cannot be found in the social media profile. It cannot be found in the followers. It cannot be found in sort of piecing or sort of pasting together this facade. The best that can give you is an image. It can give you an image of someone who might look successful, have it all together, be influential, whatever, but your identity is not found in that. It can't be, and it'll always leave you lacking and wanting more.